Team coverage of this morning's wind event.
Lexi Johnson and Scott McCain are out in the elements, so we're going to start with Scott, who's in Washington Terrace right now, where the wind is taking its toll on some trees. Scott?
Yeah, good morning once again, guys. And Mother Nature turning off the wind machine apparently right here and where we are in this part of Weber County. But as you mentioned, some of the damage has already been done. A couple of big trees behind us. Lyle Bear lives here. He's lived here basically his whole life. He says his grandfather helped plant the trees not only here by his home, but all around the park here. Now, Lyle escaped fairly unscathed during that massive wind event 4 months ago. But this time around, even though the wind event was smaller, the impact to his home was a little greater this time.
One's under the carport that's down on the top of the Durango, and then the truck has got a tree on top of it. So it can be fixed, it can be replaced.
Yeah, Lyle having a pretty good attitude about all of this. He says it could have been, much, much worse. Again, a couple of cars that are underneath those two trees behind us. And he says, back in the late 60s, his grandfather planted not only those two trees, but several here in the park where we're at right now, the Lions Park. And a lot of those got taken down in that last windstorm. He says the city of Washington Terrace will be working to try to get some of these trees replanted. But yeah, now that the wind has died down, we're going to check in with Lexi Johnson to see how things are a little farther south in the Bountiful area. Lexi?
Yeah, good morning. We are in Bountiful this morning. So, and it is completely different than it was out here at 5 and 6 o'clock this morning. The wind has really died down out here. Still have kind of a light breeze moving through, but the good news is really haven't seen much damage at all here in Bountiful. Just a few, sticks, twigs, and leaves, kind of dusting across the roads here. What we have noticed is there are some power outages here in Bountiful, as well as up north near Roy and Ogden, and Rocky Mountain Power is looking into that right now, and they're working on getting that power restored to everyone. But again, not much damage here in Bountiful, so things are looking pretty good for us out here. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Glad to hear it's getting a little better, thanks. But it wasn't as good overnight. One viewer had to have some fun with the wind event. Joe Sassana from the Ogden area shared on Facebook. You got to look at this. Anyone have anything new from the storm? We got a shed. We are covering the effects of this wind event all morning, but this is what blew into their yard. They got a new shed.
It's actually pretty good,
Yeah, well, it's a scratch and dent, but it's new anyway.
Unless they were hoping for a trampoline. Sometimes.